the moment we lose hope in our marriage, in our family, we lose hope with our kids, we lost the battle.
Welcome to Leadership 360, a thought-provoking podcast tailored for Seventh-day Adventist church leaders seeking to elevate their skills, enhance their faith, and explore how to be transformative leaders in every facet of their lives. We're excited to have another leader from the Texas Conference here with me. Dr. Leal is the Director of Family Ministries here at the Texas Conference. Friend, colleague, longtime, man, we've done a lot of fun stuff together. We've traveled together. But Ruber, I'm excited to have you on the podcast to talk about how we can minister to our families.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Tom, for the invitation. This is a great honor.
So talk to our audience. I know a little bit about your journey into pastoral ministry and into this role at the conference. How did you get here? What's your journey been like to become the Family Ministries Director for the Texas Conference and have a long pastoral ministry?
Yeah. Well, I never dreamed to be in family ministries to begin with, but back in the 90s, early 90s, when I was at Andrews University, I was a student assistant or to Dr. Youngberg, Millie Young and Youngberg. There, at the time, they were heading the family ministries in that university, and so they planted the seed, and I began to realize that this is an area that really needed a lot of work, and they have that time they were very popular on doing. Yearly in the summer, they have family life certifications, and I got to help them work all that. And then came to Texas, and lo and behold, I was asked to jump on the wagon early on. And here we are, almost 20 plus years doing family ministries in Texas.
So background pastoral ministry. Where did you do your undergrad education at?
Colombia.
Okay.
The country, South America.
In Colombia?
Yeah.
And then you're originally from?
Colombia. Yeah.
You're originally from Colombia.
Yeah.
You did stayed home for that, but then you came to the U.S. at what age?
I was 21 when I came to the United States. Yeah.
Now your dad was
my dad's a pastor. Retired pastor too.
So you're PK
carrying the legacy. Yeah.
So when you were at Andrews, then you came to Texas. Where did you pastor in Texas? Did you pastor on the Spanish side, the English side?
I started at the English side and was pastoring in San Antonio. So we pastored in San Antonio for 11 years.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. And then we moved to the North Texas area, Dallas area, and we've been here ever since.
Gotcha.
So
and now,
altogether, 25 years in Texas.
So you split time between family ministries, but also you're one of the associates at the Richardson Church.
That's right. Yeah.
In north of Dallas.
Yeah,
you get
family pastor there.
Family pastor there, which wow, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Family ministries director, family pastor.
Great match.
You get to try some stuff out on the local church before you float it. Family, talk a little bit about your beautiful wife and your kids. And
Hey, this year will be our 30th anniversary, so I'm excited to celebrate that landmark.
Ketty doesn't look that old.
No, she doesn't. I tried to keep her fresh. And have two adult children. One is she's a doctor in physical therapy, and she's a traveler therapist. And our son, youngest son, he's also graduating this year from business administration at Southern Adventist University. Yeah.
So a very happy family. So you're able to put into practice what you preach.
Tried. They have been my great schooling. I tell you, they I have practiced and failed with them, and they have been very forgiving many times.
All of our families are like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
So talking about families, you travel, you get speaking engagements all over, not only the Texas Conference and the Southwestern Union across the division, multiple divisions, but you also do research. You're up to date on the trends in families. What do you see as some of our families' biggest challenges here in 2025?
Yeah, well, I like to be optimistic because since I've been doing this, at least in the state of Texas, for 20 years, I have seen a positive shift.
Okay.
And the way families are beginning to embrace the dynamics. I think it's been overdue. People already see, if we don't take care of our families, the generations we're having are becoming more and more dysfunctional. That was the 80s and the 90s. We had this big kind of collapse on the family system. But then starting the 2000s, people begin to realize, I want to be more family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna try not to keep the 16-hour jobs, and want to be more involved. And I've seen that progression happening, and see more fathers taking the role of fatherhood, and families staying together, and the churches. I think in the last 20 years, I've seen churches embracing family ministry with more passion, and especially after COVID. I think that COVID time was a very, it was like an opportunity for us to regroup, and people were able to really value family time. And so I'm excited about the part. Now, talking about challenge, you asked the question, is I still see the biggest challenge is distractions.
Distractions, okay.
Distractions, yeah. Families who are not intentional, so easily distracted, and then they may make promises to be a present husband or a present mom or a present child, but the distractions are just taking too much of our ability to grow.
So I'm curious, what do you attribute? You talked about the positive growth that you've seen in the last 2 decades. What do you see? What do you attribute that to? Is that education? Is it different generations trying to do things differently than previous generations?
I think it's a combination of two, and I think resource-wise, I think family resources have become a lot more accessible. With social media, we got so many people that, this podcast there's so many people who would just come out with, people talking about how to be a good father, how to be a good husband, how to be a good wife, how to be a good child, talking about mental health. It's just it's now in front of us.
Gotcha.
We cannot if you scroll down your social media, something is going to pop up there that is encouraging you, to be a better family member, and the churches. Since we're in the context of church life, churches have begun to do a lot more when it comes to, it's not just evangelism.
Gotcha.
But they're bringing guest speakers. They're providing more life groups that have to do with families. Their pastors are beginning to preach more on family dynamics because they realize this is an area that we had for years sort of neglected.
So it's this trend of just the resources that are available. Yes. Like you said, it's almost in your face as you scroll social media, and as you see the books. I mean, you go to a bookstore or go to Amazon. I mean, the number of books and, like you said, podcasts are innumerable when it comes to families. What do you see? What do you attribute some of the challenges to? The distractions, and obviously we can talk about phones and all that, but you're still seeing a divorce rate that's significantly higher, blended families, the challenges that come with that. What do you see as one of the driving factors? Because I'm sure there's multiple driving factors to that.
Yeah. Well, I think the distraction has created a sense of poor commitment.
Okay.
At least in the younger generation, people are, they want to be family oriented, but taking the responsibility, it's becoming more daunting for a lot of people, And I think it has to do because the distractions of social media and the way we're living this generation, it short-term focusedness, some short concentration. And because when the mind is bombarded with so much, you can keep little.
Sure.
You keep little, and so when you're faced with the responsibility of being a dad or being a mom or being a husband or being a wife, this generation are seeing it as scary.
Gotcha.
You know,
Sure.
and that's what we're seeing. You know, the millennials and this generation they don't want to get married. You know, or if they want to get married, they're not finding people who can be committed to it.
Right.
You know, and so I think distractions overall has sort of prevented us the capacity to embrace the education that we need to be who we want to be. And then when we made the commitment, the distractions keeps coming.
Sure.
You know,
Exactly.
it's just like this overwhelming everywhere. You know, from the phones, from the latest movie, from the latest trends, from the latest. And I think we are also. It's a good thing we have a lot of resources, but I think we're becoming overload.
Gotcha.
There's an overload of information,
Sure.
and people don't know. If I want to be this, who do I go to?
Sure. Something I noticed too is the pressure of families to look like they have all their stuff together. You know, social media, you never see a family picture on Facebook or on X or wherever on Instagram where somebody's scowling, or it's always the perfect vacation, the perfect family. But I know in my context, you know, seeing friends that post that when you know that, wow, they're barely holding it together.
Yeah.
Is there that pressure to make our families look good while we're falling apart
I
behind
think that
the
falls
scenes?
that falls on the distraction premise.
Okay.
Because that's a distraction from what
Right.
real life is. You know, if I put a picture and I make the efforts to put a picture, the best picture I can have, I distract myself from the real
Gotcha.
issues that I'm having. If I look good in the picture, if I got 1,000 likes of my wife and I, and we're having really a lot of, I'm distracting myself with the ability to say, well,
Gotcha.
at least we look good.
Yeah.
You know, so unconsciously we are using that as a way to keep ourselves from addressing
Gotcha.
the issue. So that's a distraction itself.
So looking at the local church, what are some resources that you can share with the local church leaders that are watching this to help them devise strategy to minister to very diverse families?
Very diverse.
Again, blended families, you know, second, third marriages. What are some resources that you can kind of point our leaders to help them as they devise the strategies to minister to their family in the local?
Yeah. And before I answer that, I really like to say this to anybody who's watching, because, you know, when I go to churches that I don't find strong leadership in family ministries, and I ask the question why, I can tell that there is a desire, but people have this idea that a family ministries leader needs to have an intact family. Or
Gotcha.
you know that my children all need to be in church, or I should never have a second marriage, you know, or and the reality is, I don't know if that's the threshold, that's the gate for us to become family leaders. None of us
Right. Exactly.
can be family leaders. So I have to remind people, in fact, the more challenges you will have in your family, the greater the opportunity for you to be a great family leader, because you are navigating these issues. Make sure you find solution for the issues, and then you can come back and say, I've been there.
Gotcha.
I know what it feels like, you know, maybe to be in a second marriage. I failed the first one, so now I know what to do with the second
Right.
one, you know. Or I have children who are this way. And so use your challenges as a springboard to become a great family ministries leader. And then we have the resources.
Sure.
And I like to take, you know, for those of you who are watching right now, you can go to forever1.org.
Forever one. Okay.
That's it's a very simple
Yep.
words or in letters, no numbers, but forever1.org. And then you scroll there and you see immediately a tab that is on family integration or family, and then you can click that tab and it takes you to all the resources that we have available. You know, One of the first things I encourage people to do is we have a link there to use. It's a guide for it's titled "Revitalizing Family Ministries." You know, how can you revitalize family ministries in your church? And the second thing is we have a link there for the online certification provided by the North American Mission.
Gotcha.
You know? So I think if I'm toying with the idea of becoming a family ministries leader in my church, let me do it. It's a free online certification. Let me do it, and then after that I can decide. You know, because you get all the resources there. You know, you're prepared to do that. And the whole page has a lot of resources, ministry descriptions. What does it look like to be a family ministries leader? And then the beauty of that is bilingual. We have both in Spanish and English. So if you're bilingual or you know someone, you can do that. So we have also resources to how to certify yourself in other areas of family ministry. So all is there. We just made it like a hub of information. So forever1.org, and then just begin to explore this possibility.
And you alluded, and we'll put that in the show notes. You also alluded that you and Ketty travel doing couples weekends. I know here in 2025. We're releasing here in July. You have family weekends. I'm trying to think of the name of where you go to different areas and you guys do a full Sabbath.
It's Better Life.
Better Life.
Better
That's
Life
it.
Tour.
There you go.
Yeah, Better Life Tour. I mean, we're all looking for Better Life. And then we bring speakers. That we have. You know, every year we have different speakers that come. They're professionals in the area of families, mental health, authors.
Talk a little bit about 2025, since this is one we're going to be releasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this year we're going to do 5 tours all across Texas. Will be the Metroplex area, Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, Houston, and the Valley, San Antonio and the Valley. And so this year we have our guest speaker is our very own union president and his wife, who, by the way, our former Texas Conference president. Now he's finishing his master's in mental health and family, and so he's really growing this area. And he's been passionate for family ministries since I got here, and he has created this legacy. And so we have continued that.
Gotcha.
And so he and his wife are going to be our
one of the things that I appreciate coming from the ministerial development department then is you do that on Sabbath. You're going to do it with Elder Carlos Craig and Letty. And then on Sunday, you have an event specifically for pastors and their spouses.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I've been to a couple of them over the course of the time that you've been doing it. And I will say this, Ruber, our pastors really appreciate being able to have a couple hours. It's usually a Sunday morning for brunch or lunch, to just come away, have time with their spouse, and get some good information of how to continue to grow their marriage.
Well, you know, if we're talking about family ministries in the local church, I would say the first family that needs to be healthy and thriving is the pastoral family. You know, because pretty much everything trickles after that. You know, we have healthy pastors and healthy pastoral families, then we can facilitate that to our members. So yeah, definitely, it's a connection with you and ministerial, and we are excited just to see husbands and wife coming together once a year for this event.
Looking at the local church and going back to what you said about, family ministries, there's that perception of, man, if I don't have a nuclear family, so to speak, or a family that has no problems, or at least, you said the more challenges in being able to come and minister to families through what you've gone through. What are some ways that a family ministries leader or an elder or even just a member, how can they touch families who are going through difficult times? Because we all have families that are going through challenging times. Our families go through challenging times. Yeah. How can our leaders help our families in the local church as they deal with difficulties?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that the vision that what I see churches that are thriving in family ministries is that they make that their motto. It's like a family-friendly community.
Okay.
Like it's we are here to serve families.
Gotcha.
And of course, we have to have in mind that families is not just a man and a woman and kids. We have different types of families. So don't just focus on marriage.
Gotcha.
Okay. Because we have the single parent, we have the extended families. We have the families without children. We have the blended families you mentioned earlier. We have the grandparent families now, which is a lot of grandparents are raising grandkids. And one family that we can ignore sometimes, and especially in the millennial time, a lot of millennials are creating family without getting married until that. But you have 2 or 3 girls who are living together, and they're just because of a high inflation and all that, and sometimes they don't find the jobs or the dreams, but they create family. So they rent a house, and you get 3 guys living together, and that becomes a family. It's not a biological family, but I would say is a support emotional system that they create, and we need to integrate them as part of our family system.
So how does a church become family friendly? I mean, is it just, okay, we elect a family ministry leader and now we're done and now they do the programs, or how does the whole church embrace this idea of being family friendly?
Well, there has been a process where churches who want to be family friendly is you look at pretty much every ministry we do deals with family facts, family sector. You look at Pathfinder, kids, Adventist, kids. You got women's ministry, right? You got men's ministry. So the idea is that family ministries, if you're a family ministry leader, you become like the umbrella, and then you can do 2 or 3 times a year. You can gather all these leaders and you say, what can we do to minister that sector you're already ministering to?
Okay.
And because sometimes we feel that as a family leader, I have to create these isolated programs for families.
Gotcha. Okay.
When in reality, you don't have to create isolated programs. Tell your leaders, we are a support system to you. When you have a Pathfinder meeting, when you have a VBS, what can we do to strengthen that group? And then they say, for example, one church, VBS time, they had a parents' launch. And so the parents will come. They had a discussion on parenting. They have a time where all the parents are coming together and talking about raising kids. And they have a special materials and workbooks and things, And so while you're in different areas of the ministry, you can just plug in and use that moment, to grow families in the different needs that they have.
And so often, we've talked about it in other episodes, many times in church ministry, we are very siloed.
Yeah.
I'm just focused on men's ministry, and that's my thing, and I'm not worried about women's ministry. But what I hear you saying is this integration across the board. How do all of these ministries work together to minister in those places? And I love what you said with VBS. The kids are there. Sometimes the parents will drop them off, but if you give the parents an opportunity to come and learn something and to grow as parents, you're able to minister to them as well as minister to the kids.
Absolutely. And then you create even churches who create special Sabbath schools that have to do with families. We have a quarterly that we study, but then we have on the side special classes. One time they deal with dating, another time it deals with mental health. And you can rotate by quarters. Gotcha. And the idea is that this is a church that not just makes disciples for Christ, but this is a church that grows disciples. And discipling is not just someone who goes and finds the lost. It's someone who helps grow an individual. Now, there's a second thing to that, which I want to add this to it. Besides being a family-friendly church, which everything we do is to nurture the family, that's a mindset that we have to, everything we do, we're going to do this, how this is going to help our families or sectors of the family. And if we do it together, how can we cater to the other different parts of the family? But the second part that I would say is let's create a culture of women.
Okay.
You know, where we have mentorships in place, and we have a system where the more mature, the older people is always creating these connections with younger generations, where we're here to support. We're here. Newlyweds connected to people who've been married for 30, 25 years. You have boys and girls from single parents. Then you create families that create the role that is absent, because sometimes it's the mom that is absent. There are guys being single parents raising kids. So a family that embrace, and there's a mom that can be not the mom, but it kind of gives that role that is absent. Teenagers, young adults. The idea is like young women, connected to older ladies, young men, and as you create this culture where who's your women,
right?
Who's your women,
Well, and what's interesting is the way that we practice baby dedication and child dedication. Isn't that what we're saying to the church? Is this may be this couple's or this family's child, but we as a church family have, I believe, a responsibility and a privilege to do that. Yeah. And being able to be in a culture and be in a church that is very family, friendly. Richardson is one of those places that I believe you guys are very intentional about being family friendly. You alluded to VBS and parenting classes. What are some other things that you guys are doing there at Richardson that maybe some other churches would go, okay, I never thought about that, to minister to our families?
Well, I would say not only in Richardson, but we for several years we have really shifted the emphasis in one element that I believe is sort of the silver bullet for family growth, family togetherness, and healthy families. And people may think, what is that?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
What is so great? Then because you can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can listen to, especially this one.
Right? Oh, thank you. There you go.
You can listen to this one.
I love it.
Yeah. You can go to all the seminars. You can go to all the weekend retreats on families. And you can fill yourself with all the information that you can. But what I'm about to tell you, if this is not present in your family, it makes it very difficult to implement all the things you want to be. Because I don't think nobody wants to be a dysfunctional family.
Right.
I don't think, I don't wake up and say, I'm going to be a nasty dad today. Yeah. Or I'm going to be a nasty husband today. So everybody wants to, contribute their part,
right.
But what makes it challenging is this. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Right. Come on. This is
family worship.
Family worship.
Family worship. If there's the underestimated secret of having families that thrive, and I had tested this 100 times. When I'm ministering to families who are struggling, I ask this question. And they said, tell me, how's family worship going in your life? Before even asking why you're fighting, why you're leaving him, why are you, I said, tell me. And the 99% answer is, it's been a long time.
Right.
Since we have really had family worship.
So let's talk about that. What does that look, I have a certain perception in my mind of, okay, when I hear the words family worship, what does that look like?
I know.
But does it have, what is that? And talk to me. I'm not even going to throw out the stereotype perception.
Family worship there is no manual.
Okay.
Because family worship is, how do I bring my family and myself into the presence of God? And that translates differently to everybody, to many people. And of course you had two elements at least that you want to focus on worship,
right,
and praise, and you want to focus on the Word of God. But how do you do that? It may just translate, different people. I have a family friend that his family worship is he has to be in the backyard, because inside the house it's just like I never, so he has to be, because he loves outdoors,
Okay.
And then when we were growing our kids, You know, we had this it's like a 90 interactive family worship ideas. You know, that you can just Google it and find it. It's a nice book. You know, and then one day I'm coming from work, my wife is doing family worship in the bathtub with the kids. You know, and they were talking about Naaman, and then my daughter had one of her little dolls, Barbies, and they put stickies on it. And then that was the leprosy, you know, and they were putting the little Naaman in the bathtub, you know. So as long as you experience the presence of God, and you have to be age appropriate,
Sure,
because you're not going to read a book to a 2-year-old,
right?
You know, you just and have to be short, you know. And I would say the biggest issue with a lot of kids running away from family worship is boredom.
Right.
They feel bored.
They don't look for
Look
here
forward
we go
to it.
again.
And number two, it's too long.
Yeah.
You know, especially, you know, so you gotta learn how to keep it. 10 minutes has been the kind of trademark. 10 minutes. If you craft 10 minutes in the presence of God with your family, you begin to create this excitement, and then get the kids involved. If you have younger kids, get the kids involved. Make them responsible for next day.
So what are some resources if a family who's listening to this say, yeah, you know, family worship has kind of gone away, or we've never done it as a family? What are some things that you can point them to help them in that creativity?
Yeah,
and keep family worship fresh and something the kids look forward to.
You can like again this day and age, Googling stuff, and it's so easy. You say, how can I make? Just go to ChatGPT.
There you go.
How can I make family worship creative? And it gives you a bunch of ideas, you know. Or you can just Amazon.com and you use a book from created 90 ideas for creative family worship, you know, and just adapt it, you know, to your culture, to your system, to your time, whatever you are. Like in the Texas conference, you know, I don't know if you guys will see this next time, but I'm pointing it right here. You know, we got something that we had. Somebody told me, Robert, you still doing that little spinner thing? And I said, family worship is never out of date. You know, it's not old fashioned.
Right.
Family worship is always something that you will have to bring to your family. And we have plenty of more other activities where people you can go to our website forever1.org.
Okay.
And then just
so that's where
capture.
they can find a way to get those. Okay.
In fact, by the way, this is a little promo. If you listen to 360, this is only for 360.
Only for 360.
Okay.
Oh,
only
man.
for 360. So we're giving this away for free.
No.
You can contact us. Go to forever1.org. All you have to do is pay for shipping. But you say, I want 10, I want 15, I want 20. We'll send them to you for free.
That's awesome.
I think 20 is the max, probably.
All right. Okay.
But, you know, because you want to implement this in your church, you want to implement it in your community, you know, all you do is just pay for the shipping. But we'll give them away for free because we want people to know that family worship is the
right
essence.
Now, what's interesting is you also have some of these spinners for couples too, right?
Yeah, we got different areas, couples. One of the ones that we're beginning to explore more, because we haven't done a lot of promotion to this one, is how families can do ministry together. And there's a spinner that is mainly to be used at nursing homes.
Okay.
But the whole family is ministering to that person.
Gotcha.
And it's not just sing kumbaya to the little person there or the older person. It's just we want to spend 15 intentional minutes with this person. And we're going to play with them, and all the family gets involved. And a lot of families are using it, and it's a lot of fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
So forever1.org.
Forever1.org.
Let them know that as they reach out to you, let them know that they heard about it on Leadership 360.
Yeah, they said, hey, I heard that you're giving away some family tools. Where do you hear it? 360. Bingo.
There you go. Perfect.
We'll send it to you for free.
Perfect.
I mean,
perfect.
will you pay for shipping?
Yeah.
We'll give it to you for free.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And those are, I mean, and if you're watching online, you can see that they're heavy plastic. They're not paper. They'll be able to be used for years and while. Years and years. For those who are listening, again, go to forever1.org and you'll be able to see see the spinners that you'll get your hands on. I know you've given out to our pastors at pastors meetings, and our pastors have appreciated using those very spinners. As we kind of come to an end to this, there's so much more we could talk about.
Yeah.
The challenges of blended family, challenges of how do you do discipline. I mean, again, the sky's the limit, but we want to keep this manageable for folk. As you think about one thing that you want our listeners and our viewers to remember, they may forget everything else we talk about. What is one thing that you want them to come away with from our time together?
Yeah, of course. There's a Bible passage that keeps coming to mind. When it comes to, if I want to bring something that will stay, and it's Romans 5:5.
Okay.
And it says, hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in your hearts through the Holy Spirit. And I think for families, we need to be hope bringers.
Gotcha.
Make the T-shirt, put the logo, and it says, I'm a hope bringer.
Yeah.
Every member of the family should have one mission, and it's like, I'm a hope bringer for my family.
I love that.
I'm a hope bringer for my community. I'm a hope bringer for my church. I'm a hopeful husband. I'm a hopeful wife. Because the moment we lose hope in our marriage, in our family, we lose hope with our kids, we lost the battle.
Yeah.
And but one thing after that is not just be hopeful, because you can be hoping for something and it's nothing happens.
Right.
Then you need to activate the love.
Okay.
Because the Bible says that hope does not disappoint, but you have to realize that love has been poured in you by the Holy Spirit. So if you want to be a loving husband, a loving wife, a loving child, a loving grandma, a loving in-law, a loving member, a loving person in your community, you got to activate love. Why sometimes love cannot be activated is because there is healing that needs to take place. And so we need to recognize if I cannot have good relationships, if I'm always stripping with my kids and my wife and my husband and I'm always in the bad mood and all that, there's an issue, an underlying issue, and you need to address it. And that's why part of our resources for the one is counseling. We need to connect our kids, our family, with professional counselors who are prepared to help us untangle those things that have come from generations.
Right.
My dream is that people use counseling just like they used like anything else.
Right.
It says, hey, you know what? I need to go to counseling tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Okay, sure, cool, man. Good. Yeah. It's not a surprise.
Right.
It's counseling is like we need to go to school. If we're going to excel, we need to take workshops, and nobody is ashamed of saying, hey, I'm doing a workshop on this, or I'm going to go to take a certification for this so I can be a better professional.
Right.
Well, counseling is just that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Ruben, this has been a great conversation. We want to get to know you a little bit more through the lightning round.
All right.
So here you go. Number 1, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
Like night owl, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, or like midnight?
Midnight, 1 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Ketty a night owl, or is she a morning person?
Morning person.
She's a morning. So you guys are exact opposite.
Completely opposite. Yeah.
Wow.
She gives me goodbye, and then she says, "I'll see you in 4 hours."
What is your favorite time of the year?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Why?
Yeah. Man, it's a time where I think it's the only time that we get together as a family. The rest of the time, everybody's had different ideas, different plans. I mean, Christmas sometimes, but now the kids are growing older.
Sure.
But Thanksgiving is great.
I love that. Yeah. What is the most memorable trip you've ever taken?
Cabo.
Cabo.
Yeah.
Why Cabo?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, we get to do some stuff that we've never done. With the kids and family. So we always ask. In Cabo was good. It's like a little desert experience. We rode camels. We did buggies. On the shore, the seashore, and We did scuba diving. It's just all kinds of things.
So it was a family trip.
Yeah, it was a family trip.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Cabo.
Yeah.
What is one thing on your bucket list?
One thing, my bucket list. I would like to take my wife to Australia.
Australia. Okay.
Yes, yeah, down under.
That's a long way from here.
Long way from here. Yeah, that's one thing I like to do that.
All right. Hopefully one day you'll get a chance to cross that off your list.
I mean, of course.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
If you could have any animal as a pet, doesn't matter what the animal is. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be?
Gorilla.
A gorilla.
Yes.
Why? Okay.
Love those guys. Yeah.
A gorilla.
A gorilla, but a heavy-set, friendly gorilla.
A heavy-set friendly gorilla. Last and probably the most serious of all the questions. What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
Best piece of advice I've received was be slow
Be slow.
to anger
Okay.
and quick to apologize.
I love that. Slow to anger, quick to apologize.
Yeah.
And that works not just in a marriage relationship.
Yeah.
That is very much something that can be used throughout all of our relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Be slow to anger, quick to apologize.
Yeah.
I like that piece of advice. Do you remember who gave you that advice?
Yeah.
Or where you heard that?
Yeah. My mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
She knew that if our marriage was going to last, I needed to learn that.
You need slow to anger, quick to apologize.
I love my mother-in-law.
No, she sounds like she gives great advice.
Yeah, we do.
Ruber, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing the resources that you have. Again, we'll
Absolutely.
put all of it in the show notes, foreverone.org. But thank you for your ministry here. Thank you for what you and Ketty do. You've touched the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of couples throughout the Texas Conference, hundreds, if not thousands, of couples or families around the Texas Conference and around the world as you guys have ministered on the behalf of Jesus.
Yeah, happy to do it, and thanks for the opportunity to share with our world, our statewide and world church.
Fantastic. And thank you for joining us on Leadership 360. Again, remember to subscribe. It comes out every third Thursday of the month, and we'll continue to help you be the leader that God has created you to be. Look forward to seeing you next month on Leadership 360.